Hello, I'm Graham, and this is my son Javan, and I'm telling you his story because since his car accident, he's had no speech. Javan was born on a farm in the South Hams. Had a normal, happy childhood. Mum loving his life was his motorbike and the scrambling. And when he was 14, he rode in the British Schoolboy Finals. But on July 7th, 1989, he went in his car to visit some friends at Brixham. We'd had a lot of heavy rain after a long dry spell, so the roads were slippery anyway, and we warned him about that before he went out. He left his friends in Brixham, came back to Sweenaway traffic lights, and unbeknown to him, somebody had spilt diesel on the road, and there had already been one accident on King's Ash Hill. All the emergency services were already there, seeing to the woman who'd rolled her car over. Javan left for traffic lights, got to the first corner, which isn't very far, and realised that as he came around the corner, the traffic had all stopped. Applied the brakes, got into a skid to avoid the last car, went up on the bank, and the front wheel on the driver's side hit a tree, pushed the wheel and the steering column back under his seat, and jammed his head up under the roof. When he arrived at the hospital, we were taken to a family room. Javan was taken straight up to the intensive care. At 3:30 that afternoon, they told us we could go and see him. When we went in, he was on the life support system. They'd done a tracheotomy, and his breathing and everything else was being done for him. He'd broken his right leg severely, his right arm, fractured skull, fractured jaw, and had lost several teeth. A little bit of time later, they came in and told us that they were going to have to operate because the fat from the marrow was leaking out into his system and affecting his main organs. So that evening, they arranged for 2 surgeons, 2 anaesthetists, and a dentist, and they said they would start operating at 6:30. The next morning, we went down to see him. They'd plated and screwed his right leg and his arm. They'd wired his mouth shut to set his jaw, removed several teeth, and he was still in a coma. Javan remained in a coma until the beginning of November. Then they tried to bring him around. But when they tried, he started having epileptic seizures. So they had to put him back down again and start some drugs to try and contact the epilepsy. But it's not like coming out of a coma like you see on the TV where you suddenly sit up in bed and say, what happened, where am I? All Javan did was open one eye. Javan remained in Derriford until just before Christmas, and slowly but surely his eye, and you'd move his arm, and we did get a one-sided smile out of him. He remained in hospital there until end of January, February. They then moved him to Rose Hill, which is a special rehabilitation place for acquired brain injuries. He then came home for weekends, and then slowly but surely we built it up that he came home full time and went back to Rose Hill by day. This went on for quite a while. The next 6 months we were doing quite well, and then Javan suddenly had another relapse. He went really lethargic and wasn't his usual self. So I phoned the doctors at Derriford and they said bring him straight down. Took him down. As soon as they saw him, they said, right, have a CAT scan. So they scanned his brain, and he had increased fluid pressure on the brain. So they took him straight into the operating theatre and did an operation to relieve the pressure. And what they actually did is they drilled a hole in the back of his head and put a shunt in, which is what they call a little pump they put in, which drains the fluid down into his stomach. But then 4 years ago, he had a very bad seizure, which the drugs have practically kept under control. I always carry emergency drugs with me in case he has a repeat seizure. And I used the drugs, but it didn't work. So we had to take him straight back into hospital. They couldn't stop him with intravenous drugs, So they had to induce a coma again. And after 48 hours, they brought him out, and he was back to where he was, appeared to be back to where he was. But when we got him up and started walking, his balance and everything was much worse. And that's how he is today. I know you get in your cars and you feel safe, the radio's on, the air conditioning, and you think you're safe. You're not, you're sitting in a piece of tin. And when you see a report in the paper that someone has been injured in a car, the passenger or the driver, and they sustain life-changing injuries, it doesn't mean they're going to walk with a limp for their life. It doesn't mean they're going to be lame or anything like that. It probably means they'll end up like Javan for the rest of their lives.